Yeah, Nick, thanks to you and ShipBob for having me, of course. I really appreciate you guys inviting us to come and speak. It's super exciting to see the lineup of marketing strategies that we have going today. I think that my session is mostly focusing on the fundamentals, right? We want to make sure that before we talk about sending traffic or driving traffic or all of these kind of things, we want to make sure that your Amazon listings are retail ready. So that's what a lot of my time today is going to be focused on. So we're going to talk about a lot of the simple things that you might overlook, as well as some more detailed strategies. But before we get to that, let me tell you a little bit about Seller Labs and a little bit about myself, so you can understand kind of the experience that we're coming from. So Seller Labs has been a software company and services company for about 5 years now. We work with over 55,000 licensed users, and these are first-party sellers, third-party sellers, brands, agencies, starting from your mom in her basement just selling her first product yesterday to multinational corporations like the ones you see at the bottom of the screen. Last year alone, we attributed over $753 million in advertising sales and managed over $120 million in Amazon advertising spend. So that's all through our software and services platforms. We additionally sent over $1 million emails daily through our messaging Feedback Genius, our messaging tool Feedback Genius. And of course, we facilitated over 13 billion in gross sales through all of our products. So needless to say, we work with a lot of Amazon sellers. We are living and breathing in the ecosystem. And like I said, my job with Seller Labs is interacting with sellers. So I do business development and sales for Seller Labs, interacting with brands and agencies, traveling to, I would say, about 16 events a year to speak with people personally, do more webinars than that even, just to come out and see the problems that you guys are experiencing and help bridge the gap between how we as brands think and how consumers behave on Amazon. And so that's what we're going to be talking a lot today about, is how we can bridge the gap between those things with a retail ready listing. So what are we going to cover today? First, what is retail ready? Second, page optimization, then the Amazon Flywheel, then what an ASIN strategy is, and then a live Q&A at the end. So if you have any questions throughout, ping those and we'll either get to them at the end, or if there's something that Nick's seeing over and over again, he'll bring those up to me. So let's get going. So what is retail readiness? So essentially, before you even want to get down the road, and kind of like we were talking about before, we're gonna have a lot of great sessions the rest of the day about how to drive traffic, how to use email marketing, how to do all these other things. Before we even get to that point, we want to make sure that our products are retail ready, so that we actually can drive sales once they hit the page. So essentially, the question is, are your product pages fully optimized? Are they ready for customers to come to them? Now, even if you've never sold on Amazon before in your life, you've probably shopped on Amazon, so you have a good idea of what a bad listing looks like and what a good listing looks like, right? There are very few times that you aren't like, I'm not sure if this is a good listing or not. Generally speaking, it's the light of the site test, right? Where you're either like, okay, that's a good listing or that's a bad listing. So if you use that when you look at your own products, you're going to be able to tell that as well, right? So before we even get to driving traffic, we'll talk about driving traffic and the Amazon Flywheel in a couple steps. But before we even get to that, we need to examine what the components of a retail ready listing are. And so that you can go in and ensure that your listings are retail ready and make the changes that you need to make before we start trying to drive traffic in Q4. So the three components of retail readiness are: one, content, having strong, high quality content that tells not only users what they want to know, potential customers what they want to know, and sell them on it, but two, also plays by the rules of Amazon and fulfills what you need to fulfill to rank in Amazon search. The second thing is ratings and review. This is social proof. It tells customers that, hey, I'm not the only person who has tried this product. I like to describe it as a dance floor, right? If you're at a wedding and there's no one on the dance floor, you're not going to be the first one who wants to get up and start dancing. The same thing's true with ratings and reviews. You don't ever want to be the first person to try a product out, right? Even if you're an established brand, having those reviews on Amazon are going to help you. And the third thing is inventory and buy box status. And this is a little bit more of a technical, making sure that if you're sharing the listing, that you're winning the buy box and making sure that you have adequate inventory. So let's go ahead and get into content, the first thing. So content, the first piece that you need to keep in mind with content is the title. So this is essentially what people see, the first things first, the title, right? Include the brand, the product line, material, key feature, product type, color, size, packaging, and quantity. So you want to be descriptive about the product. We don't want to put these keyword stuffed, terrible titles that don't really tell you anything about the product, but they've got strong keywords in it. So what do we matter? Like, we want to follow Amazon's product title guidelines, right? So essentially, it's the brand name first, and then the product line. We want to explain what the product is, not what the product does. Does that make sense? I hope so. A lot of people, at least in the old Amazon days, 4 or 5 years ago, wanted to stuff every powerful keyword in there. But you really want to tell the user what the product is, not what it does. So the second is to place the most valuable keywords starting right next to the brand name. So if you sell an apple slicer, you want to say your brand name, apple slicer. Amazon has all these rules laid out for you, and you want to make sure it's as specific as possible because, again, we don't want to be driving traffic that's not going to convert. And we want them to know very early on what we are doing well and what we aren't doing well. So things to keep in mind is these rules are always changing, so you need to be checking in. If you haven't made sure that your title looks good in the last 6 months, year even, I would say go back in and check your title, make sure you're fully optimized. Additionally, you don't want to use things like numerals instead of like the number 2 instead of 2. You want to spell out measurements, 6 inches, not 6 inches abbreviated. Don't use symbols. Include the size and color and the variations of it. All of these things seem simple, but are really easy to trip up on. And you want to make sure that they're technically right, especially as you start to drive more and more traffic. The second piece of content is bullet points. So you need to know your category rules on lines and characters. So this varies from each category to category in regards to the number of characters that you can have in each bullet points. So once you've done past that technical part of it, you want to speak to what the product's benefits are. So what does the customer get out of it? You don't want to use industry slang or things like that, right? You want to make sure that you're speaking clearly to what your product does. And the customer, a lot of the times customers don't read much past bullet points when it comes to products. They read the title, then they read bullet points. So you want to do a good job of summarizing what your product does, what are the benefits are of it, and why they need to use it, as well as the technical aspects of things, so they know that if the product's actually what they want. So you want to provide key product content. Also, this is a great place to answer frequently asked questions and pour reviews up front. So if you know people are going to ask a certain question about your product, how many charging ports does it have? How many how many watts is it? If you're looking at the charger like we're looking at here, you want to answer those things up front because you know people are going to ask them. And oftentimes, if they don't get the answer very quickly, they're going to go to a product that will answer that for them. So caution, include keywords that show up in search, and duplicate keywords are not necessary. So if you've used a keyword once in the title or the bullet points, don't worry about using it multiple times. You don't want to do the old SEO stuffing rule where you use the charger in every single sentence. Like, that's not going to do you any extra good. So make sure to be concise, be consistent, and speak to the benefits of your product, right? Answer the questions ahead of time. Now, if you don't know what questions people are going to ask, if you're maybe coming to the Amazon marketplace for the first time, the thing is, you need to know that the questions are probably going to be the same that they ask on your own website. Or if you have competitors that are pretty similar to your products, look on theirs and they'll have frequently asked questions, and you can see which questions you need to be answering up front. So the next thing in the content is product description. So if you've had an Amazon brand registry, you need to replace the product description with enhanced brand content. This is so important. I can't stress this enough because it's nice to tell people about what you do, but it's better to show them what you do, right? Show, don't tell. So if you can have enhanced brand content, make sure to use it, or A+ content, make sure to use it. And provide more details on the products and how it benefits the users. The more in-depth that you can get, the better it will be to help the end user out, right? And again, having high quality pictures, showing them how to use the product, showing them benefits of using the products. This is absolutely the best way to use this product description. Awesome. 1 second. And that takes us quickly and easily into the next section, which is content, which is images. So you can include up to 9 images, and you want to make sure that these images are over 1,000 pixels minimum, because you want them to be able to zoom in, right? That's saying that gives you the size that you want to be able to zoom in and really see what's going on. Your first image always needs to be on a plain white background, and then once we get into the secondary images, we want to make sure to use infographics when it comes to showing them the benefits. Again, it's another place to show benefits. So if you look at that top right picture, you can see that we're using infographics to show that there's 2 different power ports for the end user. Additionally, once we get into the enhanced brand content, that gives us even more examples of that gives us even more power to use pictures to benefit us. So that's content in a really broad speaking way to do it. So the second piece is reviews. Now, I think we all know as e-commerce sellers how important a review is. This is especially true on Amazon for a couple of different reasons. It plays into social proof, and like I said before, talking about the dance floor, you don't ever want to be the first person on the dance floor. You want to buy a proven product. But even if you're not proven on Amazon, even if you're new to Amazon and you're proven on other places, you still need that proof on Amazon, because a lot of the times people are coming to Amazon to buy, and they're coming for their first search. I think that statistic is like by the 3rd or 4th year of an Amazon Prime membership, most users start 95% of their searches on Amazon. So you need to make sure that you have that social proof as well. So what does that mean? That means when you're first launching a product, you need to make sure to take advantage of things like the early reviewer program and the Vine program. So these help you get the first 5 reviews for your account, which are super critical with not only that social proof, but will also help you when you start driving traffic through Amazon advertising, because until you have those first couple of reviews, your ACoS and your prices are going to be through the roof, just because people are clicking on your product, see that no one's really bought it before, and bounce. So having those first 5 to 10 reviews are extremely important. Now, there are ways that you can kind of get around this. If you have a list off of Amazon on your own list, and you can promote your own products there and hopefully get some reviews through those sales, like that's incredible, and that's a great way to do it. One thing I would caution away from is, again, this is keeping up with terms of Amazon, and if you haven't been paying attention for the last year or a couple of years, you might still be about this, but you want to stay clear of discounts or promotions in exchange for review. That's something that's now pretty black hat in terms of getting reviews on Amazon. So don't be afraid to promote your own list, drive traffic from off of Amazon onto Amazon. And then as a pro tip, make sure to set up an email autoresponder for all your purchases. That way you can see your average review rate go from about 5.5% to 1% to about 2 to 3%. And it does depend a lot on the number of sales that you make, and it depends a lot on the category, but like setting up things like the early reviewer program, having an email strategy, driving people from your own list and following up with them that you know personally already, not personally, but through your own website already, that's going to really help you get a lot more reviews a lot more quickly. So and help you get that social proof. So then inventory in stock buy box. So you need to make sure that in order to be retail ready, in order to be ready to start sending traffic, you need to make sure that one, you have a amount of inventory that will be able to sustain the level of season that you're in. So if you're moving into Q4 and you've made all these optimizations and you're about to double or triple your advertising costs and you're going to start driving traffic from off of Amazon onto Amazon, then you want to make sure that you have enough inventory in stock, whether it's in Prime or SFA, or you're shipping from your own warehouse. Like, you need to make sure that you have enough in stock, and that not only in stock, but it's ready to ship into Amazon. Another thing you need to keep in mind is that that you own the buy box. So if you're sharing the buy box, if you're one of multiple sellers on a listing, you need to make sure that you have the buy box, because that's the only way that you can actively run advertising consistently, as well as it's going to increase the sales. If you control the buy box most of the time, that's what you need to make sure that you have that. If you don't have the buy box, again, going back to the reviews page, we can talk about making sure that email follow-up sequence is targeting seller feedback rather than product reviews. That way that you have the price, the seller feedback, and all of that that's going to help you capture the buy box larger amount of the time. So if you're not aware, if you're new to the Amazon ecosystem, what you might not realize is that Prime matters. Using FBA, Fulfilled by Amazon, is going to make a huge difference when it comes to things like winning the buy box and making sure that you have quick inventory and shipping times, as well as your price when you're starting to send traffic and your advertising to your Amazon listings. Having that little Prime checkbox is extremely important in making sure that you're profitable. So I know we kind of moved through all of that very quickly, but I think that those are all things that there's a ton of resources online that you can dig into yourself if you want more tips about it, or I'll answer some questions at the end as well. But here's the real quick retail ready checklist. So 1, product titles. 2, bullet points and descriptions. Having quality images, both on your main images as well as in your enhanced brand content. Making sure that you have inventory up and ready, as well as replenishable to Amazon fulfillment centers, and controlling the buy box on those that you share. And finally, brand registry and enhanced brand content. Again, these are the things that you want to make sure that you have under control and that you're prepped before Q4 and before you start amping up that advertising. Because if you don't have these things right and you don't have any of these pieces of the flywheel put together, then you're gonna have a lot more trouble driving traffic and seeing sustained growth. And so I'm gonna talk you through the flywheel and maybe why that's the case a little bit more. So I'm sure a lot of you have seen the Amazon flywheel before. This is apocryphally what Jeff Bezos drew on a napkin, right? He drew this flywheel out, and it starts in the center is growth, and around it is selection, which leads to a better customer experience, which leads to traffic, which leads to more sellers, which leads to selection, right? And a lower cost structure and lower prices and better customer experience. And so all of these things drive into each other, right? And that's why the Amazon marketplace has seen the growth and seen the experience that it has, and why it's so tempting for brands and agencies like ourselves to sell on Amazon, because this is the case. And they've seen, millions and millions of sellers come to Amazon, and millions of buyers come to Amazon because of these things, because of the better prices, because of the selection, because they know they're going to get a good customer experience. But it's kind of hard to explain and make applicable to us as sellers and agencies, right? So Seller Labs, we came up with our own flywheel to make it a little bit more practical to you, so you can see how you can apply these things and experience the growth on the Amazon marketplace. So here's our flywheel that we've developed. In the center is building a great brand, and it all starts with that, focusing on building a great brand, focusing with growth, and fulfilling the needs that Amazon wants you to fulfill. Beyond that, there's discovery, traffic, conversion, and reviews. And if you think about it really quickly, those are all the things that we just talked about, right? So if we have discovery, that's having a good title, bullet points, and keywords. And those are all both SEO rich and then also fulfilling what Amazon wants us to do. After that, we have reviews. So we have social proof, analysis, and product refinement. We're using the things in our product reviews to refine our products and address not only that, but our keywords and our bullet points, answering questions ahead of time. Then we have conversion, which is A+ content, enhanced brand content. It's having videos in it. It's having making sure that your pictures are high quality, right? It's being able to answer those questions ahead of time. And then after that, it's traffic. It's saying, okay, let's run headline search ads. Let's run PDAs. Let's run product display ads. Let's run sponsored product ads. And if you have any one link of these 4 broken, right, you're not going to see the same results. The flywheel is going to stop turning. But once you start putting these things into place and they're starting to fire, you're going to see it start to spin where, okay, now that we're getting discovered more, okay, we're driving more traffic by driving more paid traffic. We're starting to rank more because we're making more sales, right? We're starting to convert more. The traffic that we're driving is converting more. So we're seeing a higher percentage of sales based on that. And then we're getting more reviews because we're having more sales. And it starts this virtuous cycle where we're seeing everything spiral up and out of control on Amazon, which is a really cool thing to see once you start firing this. And you'll know that you're not fulfilling one of these things, because if you're not, then it's really feeling tough and like a grind. And you're saying, like, you're either seeing your conversion rates dip down, or your reviews dip down, or you're not showing up organically, or your ACoS is through the roof. And so that takes us to the fact that we really need to be looking at the data, because if you don't know where you're supposed to be, where the chain's falling apart, where you're not fulfilling the the flywheel here, you need to look at the data, because it will tell you what you need to be doing to make the flywheel turn. So let's talk about that. And from that, you have an ASIN strategy, right? So there are a couple things that you can, data pieces you need to look at to know why your flywheel's not turning, or what you could be doing better. So account health is the basics, right? You want to be able to get in and make sure that your account health is high. If your sessions is the second thing, you need to, traffic is the key to success, right? Ultimately, sales is a math problem when it comes to online, right? You want to make sure that you're getting the right number of sessions. So if your sessions aren't high enough, then there's no way that you're, even if you have a decent conversion rate or a decent profit percentage, like the truth of the matter is, you're not going to be able to, if you can't create sessions, whether it's organically or through paid mediums, you're not going to be able to hit the numbers that you want. So if sessions are low, then you need to raise your advertising. Sales and conversion, that number needs to be above 10%. 10% is the minimum. We want to make sure that we're converting at a high rate. So at the end of the day, we can drive all the traffic that we want in the world. We can create as many sessions as we want, but if we're not converting that, then we're not doing very well at all. Now, are we? Buy box percentage. Essentially, this means that if you're sharing a buy box to someone, we want to make sure that we have a high percentage of it, because if we're not in the buy box, we're not going to be selling many products, and we're not going to be able to run advertising to sell those products. So it's going to be much tougher if we don't have the control of the buy box. Profit. So this is making sure that your numbers are right, and ultimately, like, your business can't grow if your numbers aren't right. So that's growth right in the middle, right, and creating a brand. Sponsored products and brands. This is us saying, like, we're focusing on advertising. We need to make sure that these other things are in place, but we want to be able to drive more sessions, right? We can drive more sessions through paying for them, right? I always tell people you can be #1 for any search term that you want on Amazon today. You just have to be willing to pay for it. ACoS, how much is it going to cost to sell the product? So this is us saying, figuring out, like, again, profitability, where are we at, how much can we afford to spend up front, like maybe being aggressive going into Q4, we're going to have closer to a break-even ACoS for our return on ad spend. And then return on ad spend, which is what's our return on the ad spend. We're going to want to be more aggressive of that going into Q4, and then hopefully those extra sales that we're getting into driving into Q4 will allow us to start seeing more organic sales. And again, it's the whole virtuous cycle. It starts spinning. So here are a couple additional things to consider. Amazon stores. It's always good to set up and launch your own Amazon store. This is just another way that people can search and find you. It gives you a little bit more of a polished, refined look, helps you out in that way, especially if you're driving traffic from off of Amazon onto Amazon. Great way to do it. Send them to your store, let them see the refined images, store setup, all of those kind of things. Coupons. We always suggest having coupons that, if you can save them 15% on the store page, that's a great way to help out. And making them stackable coupons. So you can either, if you know that you have multiple products that are frequently bought together, create a coupon that says, hey, save 15% when you buy both of these products. Or subscribe and save, all of those kind of things are super important as well, if you can take advantage of them. Additionally, with stackable coupons, you can have coupons that say, 15% off if you buy 2, 25% off if you buy 3. Having those stackable coupons are going to really help you be able to either raise the cart size or cross-sell your other products. Business discounts, that's another one. Amazon B2B is a place that we see people chronically underusing. I think that's an area where a lot of people are kind of not realizing the opportunity that's there yet. So I would highly recommend taking a look at Amazon B2B and having B2B pricing discounts if your products are open for it. And social following, right? So can you drive sales from off of Amazon? It doesn't have to be just an Amazon email list. It can be from your social media. It can be from all of these things. It's a great way to, especially as we get into Q4, and maybe you want to, you can't get it there any longer from your own website, but let's send the traffic to Amazon and we can still get 2-day shipping for them in that way. And then finally, remarketing. Take advantage of Amazon DSP. It's something that is still pretty early on, but people that I've continued to talk to are seeing great results from it, so that might be worth the investment as well. So that takes me to the end of my conversation, to the end of my presentation. We've reached our 30-minute mark on that, so if you can, feel free to reach out to me at tyler@sellerlabs.com or follow me on LinkedIn. Additionally, if you want to go to sellerlabs.com, you can get a 30-day free trial and 20% off of any product using the code SHIPBOB there. So we've got some time for some questions and answers, I think. Right, Nick?
Boom. Yeah, right there. We got about 10 minutes or so for questions, and we got some good ones actually that came in. So that's awesome too. This 30-day free trial plus 20% off product using ShipBob. Sweet. We'll definitely have to share this with our a lot of our customers too. That'd be great to kind of share with them as well. I know that a lot of our brands that are on the marketplace need these types of tools. And so especially like your Ignite software, maybe you can dive into the Ignite software a little bit more too, because I know that that's pretty much a large hit on for a lot of the e-commerce sellers or just Amazon sellers. Like maybe you can dive into that at a high level.
Yeah, absolutely. So we spent a lot of today talking about the tangible things when it comes to getting your listing ready,
Of course.
retail ready, right? We talked about like making sure that you're fully optimized so that when you start to drive traffic to your listing, whether it's from off of Amazon or on Amazon or organically, that it's there and able to convert. So Ignite is a software tool that helps you manage your Amazon ad spend, whether it's through Amazon, PDAs or PPC or any of those kind of things. Our tool is coming in and helping you manage it in a lot cleaner of a basic, because a lot of people, especially who are coming from the Google Ads world, from the Facebook world, they don't realize how archaic that Amazon advertising management still kind of is in comparison to those things. I kind of describe it as, it's pretty much, if you're using Amazon, it's basically like where Google was like 8 years ago in terms of management. So having a clean dashboard that is making automated suggestions to you to say, hey, like, here's a way that you could better optimize your campaign. Hey, you should move this to a negative keyword. You're wasting too much money on this. Hey, you should raise the bid on this and you could be making more sales. Our system comes in and makes those suggestions to you in an automated manner, which is a really cool way to help lower your ACoS, right? So lower the percentage of the sale that your advertising is taking, and then also like help you bump up things like exposure and things like that.
Awesome. Fantastic. Appreciate that. So I want to get through some of these other questions here too. I'm just trying to put them in order here as you're kind of going through. Kind of back to the keyword, putting keywords into your titles and bullet points and in descriptions, etc. And I'm sure you got this question hundreds of different times, but is there an amount of keywords I should be aiming for in my listing? I'm going to let you kind of dive into that a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting question, and I think it depends. I would say there's a couple different schools of thought that come into it. My priority, especially, it depends on the size of your catalog, to be honest. I think that's a big piece of it. I think, and it depends on your ASIN strategy. So I think that I've talked to a lot of sellers who have a list of like 15 key keywords that they want to focus in on per listing. I don't know if that's too many, too little. I think that that's kind of like a range where they've got like 2 to 5 primary keywords that they say like, here are the ones we want to focus in on. If we can get ranked for these other 10, that's great. But then there's also sellers who take the approach of, okay, I don't want to even try to fight for the big keywords up front. I want to focus in on a lot of the smaller keywords and try to focus in on those that are a little bit more of a long tail approach. So I think that it depends a lot on your where your listings are at today, right? So how many reviews, how many of the other pieces do you have in place? or are you just getting started? It depends on your budget and ability to drive traffic and then convert that traffic as well. A lot of times what I talk about is using the line of sight test when it comes to advertising and when it comes to choosing keywords. So the examples like I gave for like the presentation were the Anchor charger tool, right? So if we're going after chargers or things like that, does our product stack up against the top 10 products that show up for that? So do we have a similar number of reviews? Do we have a similar quality product, a similar price point? All of those things are things you need to be looking at as you're assessing whether or not you want to go after that keyword, try to rank for it organically or advertise for it. So if you look at your product and you've got 3 reviews and a much higher price point, and that's all brand names that people recognize for that keyword, that's probably not realistic to think that even if you advertise and bid aggressively on it, people are going to choose your product above that. So choosing your keywords in that regards, I think, is a little bit of like self-inspection and honesty in that regards. Does that make sense?
Yep, no, that makes a lot of sense. And apologies, Stacy goes, yikes, are there demons in that room? And I do apologize. We have one of the other panelists that are jumping on for the next session here, and so they're just a tad bit early, so I've just been dismissing them. So I do apologize for that, Tyler, as well.
Oh, no worries.
Awesome. So we still have 5 more minutes here for questions, so we're definitely gonna jump into some more. But I appreciate that rundown, though, Tyler. Very, very helpful. Let's see if we can jump in another question here. Something actually I saw too. What about text overlays on images? Like I've seen, like I saw this on Google the other day actually too, on one of the Google shopping search results, and a lot of some of the images that Amazon was advertising, or maybe it was a brand that was actually advertising. I think it's actually Amazon has to advertise on Google Shopping actually. So what's that? Sorry.
That's the DSP program.
Okay, interesting. Can you dive into that a little bit?
Yeah, so Amazon's opened it up to some sellers, and it's kind of growing and growing, but like it's kind of like remarketing.
Okay.
And Amazon, has opened it up to allow you to advertise through them through the like Google Shopping and all of that. So it's a pretty cool. Like I said, the people I've talked to who've used it, I don't want to speak to it too much because I'm honestly,
of course, yeah,
not as privy on it as I would like to be. But the people I've talked to who've used it have really liked it. So.
Cool. Okay. No, that's good to know. I was curious. I was kind of going through it the other day, and but nice to know. Let's see. Another question here. How do you know when to invest in EBC content? And if you were to invest, how do you kind of explain to your boss, or just even to explain to yourself? How do you know what the ROI is for EBC, or just enhancing any of your content?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that ultimately it's a cost of doing business. Right, like the reality of it is, and I think that there are metrics that you can look at, right? We talked about looking at metrics, and you can look at things like conversion rate and sessions and all of those kind of things, even your ACoS and your return on ad spend eventually. But ultimately, you need to look at it as an investment because maybe the approach is different depending on your boss or if you're your own boss, but like. It's one of those things where you're saying, okay, I'm investing this now, but this is going to lead to some amount of return on ad spend or ROI just based on I'm going to see a higher conversion rate, right? People are going to have a better experience with my product. Maybe it's even a lower number of returns because it better explains what our product is. But that's kind of how I look at it. So looking at any of those metrics, I mean, it's tough to like put hard numbers on what those returns are going to be, but like, if you take your conversion rate from 10% to 12% even over the course of a year, that's pretty meaningful.
Yeah, that's a huge. I mean, think about that 2% conversion rate increase, like for the amount of traffic that you're getting. Like that's just think about the sessions that you're getting there, and then add that, multiply that by your new conversion rate. It's a huge influx of sales, right?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's a great way to do it. Just do the math and kind of see like, okay, well, what's an acceptable rate? What's a great rate? And like, what's a home run? And like, if the fact of the matter is, if like, you make any money at all above that acceptable rate, like that's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, it's like just the opportunity cost, right? Of just like, okay, maybe I invest in EBC, right? Maybe I have like a designer do it or somebody else, or you do it yourself, right? And
Yep.
so just like thinking about like, okay, it cost me, $1,000, let's say, for a new EBC page. Well, maybe you look at the payback period, right? Within like 3 to 6 months, and you're like, wow, that might actually, if we increase conversion rate by 0.5%, it's going to pay back in a month, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, just definitely looking at things like that. I definitely agree with that. Looking into further. Um, so what about this? Kind of got brought up earlier. It wasn't really like a question, more of just kind of conversing with talking about kind of just growth on the channel for a lot of these brands. What if you see kind of stagnant growth or just kind of up and down growth, like for as being a seller? Is there anything that you would kind of look into to help to use as like a lever, let's say, to move that needle and try to make it more kind of increased month over month growth? Maybe you can kind of dive into. I know it's a lot because you got to really think about the Amazon flywheel effect, right? Like everything affects one
Mhm.
another, right? But maybe if like how you would approach that, if you're working with a brand or if you're selling yourself.
Yeah, I think that the thing you need to do is kind of audit these numbers that I was talking about and
Hmm.
and see like and kind of like truthfully ask yourself. And a lot of times it's hard, right? Because like we're so intimate with the products and our brands and that we're working on. It's sometimes it's hard to be truthful with yourself about where things are falling apart. But the data really kind of does tell you that, right? So if you're seeing kind of stagnant or up and down growth and in your products, there can be any number of reasons why that is. But I kind of like to start with sessions, right? Because ultimately we can kind of go from there. So it's like, okay, well, were our sessions down this month? Okay, if not, are they, are we continuing? If we want to see growth, then our sessions probably need to keep growing. One of these pieces of the puzzle has to get bigger every month, right? Whether it's buy box percentage, whether it's sales conversion, whether it's number of sessions, whether it's our profitability, all of those things need to be going up if we want to see growth, or at least one of them needs to be going up, and the other things need to be staying the same if we want to see growth. Additionally, with ACoS and return on ad spend, that those things need to be going down or staying the same, right? Like ultimately, if I can create more sessions and keep my sales conversion the same, right, then I'm going to see more sales. But if I if I see more sessions and then, okay, well, if I created 1,500 more sessions or 1,000 more sessions or 100,000 more sessions last month, but my conversion rate dropped from 10% to 9%, what does that
Hmm.
do ultimately? Am I more profitable or am I less profitable? So it's kind of just like really digging in and looking at the math problem that is your account to
Yep.
figure out where you need to flex on it, right? Whether it's, profitability, or do we need to, be more consistent about how much we're spending on advertising? Do we need to uh, make our listings better so we can convert better? All of those kind of things are what you need to be asking. How many sessions are organic versus paid? What percentage of um, our tacos, our ACOP, whatever you want to call it, what percentage of our total sales are coming from advertising? Looking at all of those things are great indicators to why your business is like maybe stagnating or going down or just kind of fluctuating.
Awesome. Well, there you have it, folks. Tyler Henderson over at Seller Labs. Again, Tyler, thank you so much for the time today. Really do appreciate it. And I will definitely be sharing this code. I mean, I can't forget that code, right? Over with our audience too. And we'll definitely send that out to our customers as well. And, again, thank you so much, Tyler. And thanks everyone for joining us for the first session here. Would love to have you back as well as we head into the crazy holiday shopping season. Maybe we'll kind of get you back on, talking about maybe Black Friday or Cyber Monday, but we'll kind of get that in the works. But